Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. We recently did a video on the police, a ranking video. And when we got to synchronicity, inevitably we discussed, of course, Every Breath You Take, that song, and how that is one of the most misinterpreted songs I can think of. How it's got the beautiful melody, and, so many people sort of think it's this wonderful love song. It's deceptive, right? Because it is a beautiful song, but of course, you listen closely to the lyrics. It's actually a very disturbing, song from the point of view of a obsessed stalker, right? And how Sting is, mentioned in multiple interviews. I was always surprised when people tell him that that was their wedding song or whatever. It's like, okay, you must have a very strange relationship. So that got me thinking. What are some other songs that are misinterpreted? And actually, there's some very interesting ones. So I picked five. They're not more than five, but I picked five that I could think of that I came up with. If you could think of some others, put them in the comments. Let's talk about it. It's a lot of fun. And before we get going, please do subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. And thank you to those of you who've been here with us for a while or just getting on board. Like the videos, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. Okay, so here are the five that I could think of. One that's kind of along the lines of the police, and that is often also misinterpreted as a love song, apparently. I'm thinking of The One I Love from REM, right? That appears on Document. And kind of similarly, when you talk about Sting and how he's surprised, I've seen in an interview or two with Michael Stipe, same thing, where he'll be kind of surprised that people, would come up to him and say, "Oh yeah, that's our song," or again, our wedding song or whatever, and he's like, "Really?" You take it's actually there's not a whole lot of lyrics. It sort of repeats over and over, but the main lyric, right? This one goes out to the one I love. This one goes out to the one I left behind. A simple prop to occupy my time. This one goes out to the one I love. Stipe even there's this interview I saw where Stipe even was talking about how that he almost didn't want to record it because it was so mean and vicious, but if that's your song, that's your song, I guess. Another one that I was listening to recently. I was listening to some Randy Newman recently. I love Randy Newman. I guess this whole video could be Randy Newman songs, right? But I was listening to his great song, kind of one of his hits, "I Love L.A." Right off of his wonderfully caustic and sarcastic album "Trouble in Paradise." I love that this whole record is so great. I love this record. But I love L.A. You hear that? I don't know, sporting events even, when a Los Angeles team like say the Lakers are in the NBA finals or something, that'll be a bumper song, in the broadcast on TV going to commercial, right? I love LA, and all that. But yeah, nothing is as it seems on the surface with Randy Newman. And that I guess so many people view that song as like this celebratory, song about Los Angeles. And I don't know. It seems to me a lot more ambiguous, right? I think part of it is Randy Newman does have a fondness for Los Angeles, but take the line, look at that bum over there, man. He's down on his knees, but it's sung with this gusto, and then of course that catchy chorus. I think that's a lot of it. When you have a kind of a catchy melodic chorus, or just a great melody. It's definitely true with Every Breath You Take, right? Then that makes up a lot, if you're not listening to the lyrics very carefully. So anyway, great record. I forgot how much I like this record. 83. Yeah, well, you might see this coming up in one of the year videos. Okay, next is a big one, and I think I mentioned this one when I did my week on this guy, but you got to mention Bruce Springsteen's "Born in the USA," right? Again, I think another case of one of those, catchy choruses that gets stuck in people's head, the board, and it's like this triumphant sounding shouted, chorus. And I mean, so much so that famously, you probably know this, right? But 1984, the 1984 presidential campaign, both Ronald Reagan and Walter Mondale wanted to use that song in their campaign commercials, right? And Springsteen turned them down because it's like, have you listened to the lyrics? I mean, if you listen to the verses in that song, I mean, it's about being down and out. It's about not finding a job. It's about struggling veterans. He's referencing his at least the character in the song referencing his brother and Kaysan and Vietnam experiences, and hardly this triumphant patriotic song. But I mean, again, you couch those lyrics and catchy music and great melody, a triumphant sounding chorus, and there you go. All right, couple more. Let's do two more. This one I found real interesting. Talking about Fire and Rain from James Taylor. Now I only have it on, I've got, of course, that greatest hits that I think everyone owns, right? Of James Taylor, and it's on here. Great collection, of course. I believe didn't the song originally appear on Sweet Baby James? I believe that album. Pretty sure it's that album. Editor can check, and if so, he can throw the picture up there. Um, yeah, Fire and Rain, beautiful song. Probably my favorite James Taylor song. I've always loved that song. Oops, I knocked the microphone there. But yeah, Fire and Rain. So of course, the classic misinterpretation, and I had this misinterpretation for a long time. I remember I had this buddy a long time ago. I think we were in high school or something, and we were getting into a lot of music that we were discovering, and it was just talking about James Taylor and that song. And I remember this him real solemnly telling me, yeah, that song is about his girlfriend, the love of his life, and she was killed in an airplane crash, and he just never really recovered. He was never the same, and that song is about that. And I mean, if you look at the lyrics, I mean, you can be forgiven for that interpretation, right? I mean, he talks about this Suzanne, who is obviously, I mean, not with us anymore. Sounds like she is deceased. And then that line, sweet dreams and flying machines in pieces on the ground. It definitely sounds like the wreckage of a plane crash, right? And I don't know, for years and years after, that's what I believed. I think, like many people, maybe some of you still believe that, right? That song is about this long lost love of his who died in a plane crash. It's not that at all. I have discovered recently, actually, when I was doing research for some of these songs. And, and that one came up a lot as one that's misinterpreted. That one, well, the Suzanne in there was, according to my research, was a friend of his by the name of Suzanne Schnur, I believe. And she was deceased. But in her case, she had committed suicide, and so that's what he was referencing that. And the song is also just in general references some of the trials and difficulties of the newfound fame that he had, and I believe some drug issues. And the Sweet Dreams and Flying Machines and Pieces on the Ground actually references his first band that broke up in some acrimony. And of course, that band was James Taylor and the Flying Machine, right? And so that references the breakup of his first band and how he had high hopes for that band, and they kind of disintegrated and broke up before they made it. So that's what that's a lot. That's what that's about. But again, you read it makes a lot more sense as a plane crash, I think. Anyway, one more, last one that I came up with, and you can be forgiven. I think all of us can be forgiven for misinterpreting this, especially if you don't speak German, because This song was a huge hit in German. Now there was an English version released as well. I've always preferred the German. I just think it sounded better. But that great '80s hit, right? 99 Luftballons by Nina. I think it's a great song. Um, Great pop song. Yeah, again, great hooks, sounds awesome, great chorus. Sound, kind of a sounds like a happy, kind of uplifting '80s pop song, right? And even in the English version, if you don't listen to the lyrics too closely, you just jamming along. It's interesting. You read the lyrics and you read about the song. It's actually about nuclear holocaust, and a nuclear war, right? It's I don't remember the year. Was it early '80s or mid '80s when that song came out. It was sometime in the '80s. Obviously, it's early to mid '80s. Editor can put the release date, but sort of at the height, one of the peaks of our paranoia about nuclear war, Cold War fears and all that. And you look at the lyrics; it's actually really interesting. It's this idea about if what if this big batch of balloons was released, in Europe, obviously it'd be a German song. Germany is split, literally, the front lines in Europe of the Cold War, the Iron Curtain, and all that, East and West Germany. And so, what if this big batch of balloons was released and drifted over that line, and was misinterpreted on the radar or something as something else, and triggered a nuclear launch? And then there was a nuclear response, and then we have this huge nuclear war. That's what the song is about, right? There's this line in there, this verse in there: 99 dreams I have had, in every one a red balloon. It's all over, and I am standing pretty in this dust that was a city, right? This annihilated city, this nuclear wasteland, right? Pretty kind of serious, scary stuff, but again, a catchy tune. A catchy tune. All right. Anyway, those are five that I picked. I almost went with "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins. That's another one. That's an interesting one. Or I don't know, John Lennon's "Imagine," right? Which is really, if you read very carefully, is a very kind of strict, communist. It was almost a communist manifesto, right? Instead of just this sort of vague song about peace and everyone getting along. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting stuff. So, what do you guys think? In the comments again, some other songs you can think of that are commonly misunderstood, as far as the meaning in the lyrics. I'm not talking. There's a whole different category of songs of where you think a line says something when it's actually a different word. By the way it's sung. Not talking about that. I'm talking about just overall the meaning of a song. People just kind of have a different view of what it's really about. Right? Well, all right, guys. We'll see you next time on Amity Tracks.